Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the world of stick welding technology, or as I like to call it, stick. We're going to address the most frequently asked questions, from the basics to some more advanced stuff. So, whether you're a complete beginner or you've already laid down a few beads in your time, stick around. I think you'll get something out of this. Let's get started. Okay, so let's break down the fundamentals of stick welding. At its core, it's all about fusing two pieces of metal together using heat generated by an electric arc. This isn't your everyday run-of-the-mill spark, though. We're talking temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Now, the way we create this arc is with a consumable electrode, which is just a fancy word for a specially coated metal stick. When you strike the tip of the electrode against your workpiece, it creates a circuit, and bam! You've got yourself an arc. As the arc burns, that coating on the electrode, called flux, vaporizes and forms a protective gas shield around the weld pool. The beauty of stick welding is its simplicity and portability. Alright, let's talk electrodes. Now there's a whole slew of electrodes out there, each with its own unique properties and ideal use cases. But don't worry, you don't need to memorize the entire periodic table to get started. We're going to focus on the most common ones used in the professional world, the workhorses of the welding industry. First up, we've got the 6013 electrode, a true all-rounder. It's often the go-to choice for beginners because it is incredibly forgiving and produces a smooth, aesthetically pleasing weld. Next, we have the 7018, a low-hydrogen electrode that's known for its deep penetration and ability to handle higher tensile strengths. For welding on rusty or dirty metal, you can't go wrong with the 6011. And finally, for those times when you need a little extra oomph, there's the 6010. Ever looked at those numbers printed on the side of your welding electrodes and thought, what in the world do these mean? Well, you're not alone. It's like a secret code. But, luckily for you, I'm here to crack it. Let's take the classic E6013 electrode as an example. That E at the beginning? That just stands for electrode, no big mystery there. The first two digits, 60, tell you the tensile strength of the weld metal, measured in thousands of pounds per square inch, KSI. The third digit, 1, indicates the welding position this electrode is designed for. 1 means it can be used in all positions, flat, horizontal, vertical, and overhead. And finally, that last digit, 3, tells you about the coating type. Higher numbers mean the rod has more coating. Now you can impress your welding buddies with your newfound knowledge. Now that we've got a handle on what those electrode numbers mean, let's talk about the pros and cons of each type. The 6013, our all-rounder, is a great place to start. It's easy to strike an arc with, produces minimal spatter, and creates those beautiful smooth welds. However, it's not the strongest electrode out there, so it's not ideal for heavy-duty structural work. For those demanding applications, the 7018 is your go-to. It's got the strength, it's got the penetration, and it produces X-ray quality welds. The 6011 is a beast when it comes to dirty or rusty metal. And finally, our powerhouse, the 6010, is perfect for those tough jobs where you need to burn through just about anything. But it can also be a bit more challenging to control and produces a fair amount of spatter. Now let's talk applications. Each of the electrodes we've discussed has its own sweet spot, its ideal use case where it truly shines. The 6013, with its ease of use and aesthetically pleasing welds, is a favorite for light-gauge steel, sheet metal work, and general fabrication projects. It's also a great choice for hobbyists and those just starting out with stick welding. The 7018, our high-strength champion, is the go-to electrode for critical structural steel fabrication, pressure vessels, and pipelines. The 6011, our dirty metal warrior, excels in maintenance and repair situations where you might encounter rust, paint, or other surface contaminants. And finally, the 6010, our powerhouse, is often used in pipeline welding, particularly for root passes, due to its ability to burn through rust and contaminants. It's also a good choice for welding cast iron and for situations where you need maximum penetration. Choosing the right electrode for your welding project can mean the difference between a strong, long-lasting weld and a weak, brittle one that's prone to failure. So, how do you make sure you're picking the right stick for the job? First and foremost, consider the base metals you're welding. Different electrodes are designed for different types of metals, so you'll need to choose one that's compatible with your materials. Next, think about the thickness of the metal you're working with. Thicker materials require electrodes with higher deposition rates and deeper penetration capabilities. The welding position also plays a role in electrode selection, and of course you'll need to factor in the required weld quality and mechanical properties. Proper electrode storage is crucial for maintaining weld quality and preventing those pesky welding defects. You wouldn't believe how sensitive these little guys can be to moisture. First things first, always store your electrodes in a dry, climate-controlled environment. Ideally, you want to keep your electrodes in a dedicated electrode oven, which maintains a constant temperature and humidity level. But if you don't have an oven, you can store them in a sealed container with desiccant packs to absorb any moisture. And here's a pro tip. Only open one package of electrodes at a time, and once you've opened it, use those electrodes as soon as possible. Before we strike an arc, let's talk safety. Stick welding is an incredibly rewarding process, but it's important to respect the tools and take the necessary precautions to protect yourself and those around you. First and foremost, protect your eyes and skin from those intense UV rays and sparks. Always wear a welding helmet with a properly shaded lens, and make sure to cover up any exposed skin with flame-resistant clothing. Next, be mindful of fumes and ventilation. Welding fumes contain potentially harmful particles that you don't want to be breathing in. Make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area or use a respirator to protect your lungs. Fire safety is also crucial. Just like any tool, your welding equipment needs a little TLC to keep it running smoothly and performing at its best. Regular maintenance not only extends the life of your gear, but also ensures consistent weld quality and prevents costly downtime. Let's start with the workhorse of the operation, your welding machine. Keep it clean and free of dust and debris, which can accumulate inside and cause overheating or even damage to the internal components. Inspect cables regularly for any cracks, cuts, or exposed wires. Damaged cables can be a safety hazard and can also affect the performance of your machine. Make sure the jaws of your electrode holder are clean and free of spatter buildup. And finally, give your work clamps some love too. Even the most experienced welders make mistakes from time to time. It's all part of the learning process, right? But by being aware of some common stick welding slip-ups, you can avoid them and improve your welding skills. One of the most common mistakes is using the wrong electrode for the job. Another common error is using incorrect amperage settings. Too low of an amperage can result in a weak, poorly fused weld, while too high of an amperage can cause excessive spatter and burn-through. Maintaining the proper arc length is crucial for a good weld. Holding the electrode too far from the workpiece can cause a weak, unstable arc, while holding it too close can lead to arc flow and an uneven weld bead. Thanks for watching. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of stick welding to some more advanced techniques. But the most important thing is to get out there and practice. The more you weld, the better you'll become. And remember, welding is a journey of continuous learning. So keep experimenting, keep asking questions, and keep pushing your skills to the next level. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more welding tips and tutorials.